Hi friends, welcome or welcome back to the channel. And if you saw by that title, you saw by that thumbnail, today I'm telling you guys every single book I have given 5 stars since I have started reading. And I thought this would be the perfect time to do that because I actually just hit a year of like getting back into reading. And so I was like, oh, I think it'll be cool to like let you guys know like every single book I've given 5 stars. Even if I don't think it deserves 5, I'm not gonna say deserves, even if I don't think it's 5 stars in my opinion anymore, I'm still gonna show it to you guys. So basically what I did was I went through Goodreads and I ended up having to like filter and pull every book that I've given 5 stars from September up until August of this year. So September of 2022 to August of 2023, you guys will see how many books I've given 5 stars. And I did a count, there's 47 books I've given 5 stars since then. And so yeah, I'm just gonna show them all to you guys, and then in another video let me know if you guys like give this a thumbs up if you want to see like me tier ranking these 5 stars. So like if I still think they're a 5-star, or you know, I'll probably do like a good ranking of like probably like 5 different options about where they kind of fall on my 5-star meter. But to give you guys kind of like my little rating system, it's actually on my highlights on my Instagram story. This is seriously like how I rate all of my books. So my 1 star, which I really don't rate books 1 stars because 9 out of the 10, if it's 1 star, I didn't even finish it. Like I didn't get 1 chapter, like it was not even worth talking about. That's a 1 star, which you really will never see me do 1 stars because like I said, if it's a 1 star, I'm not even about to address that I read the book most likely, because I didn't finish it. So those are usually like my DNF books, which honestly though, I don't think I've DNF'd any books. But 2 star is like I got through it, but it was like a real challenge to get through it. I definitely wouldn't be recommending it. I never think about the book like it was probably one of those like I didn't want to DNF it, but I finished it just to say I finished it. And then 3 stars is like, okay, like 3 stars, if you think about it, it's like your meets expectations. You know, like when you do like a rating for your job, like your annual review, and they like say, okay, like you get a 3, like it meets expectations. That's kind of how I think of like a 3-star read. You know, it was good, you know, when I was reading it I enjoyed it, but after that it was like, okay, time to get to the next book. That's what I do for 3 stars. And then 4 stars usually is like, okay, I was like fully into this book, like it made me smile, it made me giggle, like it felt good, but it wasn't a 5-star. And a 5-star, you guys, 5 stars, like I would not change a thing about this book. This book literally had me like I want to live in the book. Like, you know, a 5-star when you have a 5-star. And looking at some of these books back, like when I pulled them off my shelf, I was like, some of these probably could have got a 4-star. But obviously when you first start reading, it's just like every book is good and you think every book that is ever good deserves a 5-star. And so that's definitely how I like used to rate my books, but now I am a little bit more stingy with my 5 stars, I guess is what I can say. But yes, now that we've explained the rating systems, I'm gonna go through these books and tell you guys which ones I've rated 5 stars. I am wearing my 4th Wing little crew neck from Wild Shadows. I think I wore one in like my most recent reading diaries and I linked it, so I'll link this one too if you guys want to see it. Like I am heavily in my book like merch era, so like you guys will probably always see me right now, like especially with fall and winter coming, you guys are always going to see me in like book merch because I went a little crazy. But let's get into this little spiel of all books I've gave 5 stars. So starting out, wait, is the sun is like, it's getting weird now. Okay, So they're not really in any particular order, but I guess like, well, they kind of are. I guess like they're like grouped together with authors. So we'll start with the romance, I guess. Okay, so first is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. This is part of the what world? I've heard the Rome, Kentucky series. But yes, this one is a like bodyguard, but not her bodyguard, and like a florist. I absolutely love this one. Sarah Adams writes like some of the best like giddy, like cute kissy romance books. Like it's literally so cute. And y'all don't ask me none of these characters' names because it's gonna take me a minute to remember these names. But I do remember her name is not even Amy, her name is Annie. But yes, that is what this one is about. It's a cute little romance, and yeah, I gave it 5 stars. I have 2 books by the same author. So we have the Knock 'Em Out series by Lucy Score. If you guys watched my most recent reading vlog, I did give that one 5 stars, but I did not give it a 5 stars in August. It was in September, so that's why I said that's why it is not in this video. But I absolutely love this series. I love this world so much. And the 3rd book covered Lucian and Sloane, which everyone has been waiting on their stories. But the 1st book covers Knox, and the 2nd book covers Nash, which these 2 are actually brothers. And so you have a grumpy meets sunshine kind of situation going on here, and then you have good guy meets bad girl in this one. And so yeah, I love the little small town thing going on here. I love like how it's not even a found family because they're actually family, but like the community that each book like brings. And then also there's like a little mystery crime going on in this town. So it's just like amazing. It's like, it's so good. It's so good. And then just to see the dynamic of the friends like in that world is really fun. So highly recommend that series. Chestnut Spring series and by Elsie Silver. So it's Flawless and Heartless. And if you guys do not follow me on Instagram, then follow me on Instagram because you guys will see that I am obsessed with this series. I love these people so much. So Flawless is Rhett and Summer, and then Heartless is Cade and Willa. And so here you have a bull rider slash like bull rider meets like, I guess she's like, she's not, so she kind of played the role of a publicist, but she's not really a publicist. But that's the little trope, I guess. But it is small town, and I never knew I would be interested in bull riders until I read this book. And now I'm like, where's a bull rider? Like, give me a bull rider. And then you have Heartless, which is a single dad romance. And guys, oh my goodness, the little boy in this book, my heart, like every time I think of a kid in the book, I think of this kid in this book. But Willa and Cade, I freaking love them. Willa is just like so fierce, and she's just like so like, she's that girl. She is that girl, and their relationship is so freaking beautiful. And I will definitely be rereading that series once the 5th book comes out. Like, I'm gonna read Hopeless, and then I cannot wait to just like reread that series for the first time ever. Like, I love that series so much. Rewrite Our Story by Kat Singleton. This is also a small town, y'all. There's a lot of small town romances here. I've been falling in love with small town romance. But this one is a cowboy childhood friends to lovers, I guess you can say. Like, they were together, well, they were like they've known each other ever since they were kids. They were like best friends almost. And it is also a best friends brothers trope, but like they're best friends too. And like they were together, broke up, years went by, she came back to the town, and now they are back together. And that's kind of the best way I can say it. But it's, if you guys have heard the name Cade Jennings, that is this guy in this book. Cade and Marigold is really her name. But yes, I absolutely love this. Was actually my first cowboy romance, and I was head over heels. It put me in my big cowgirl era, and I bought me a cowgirl hat, I bought me some cowgirl boots. Like, y'all, I was ready to relive this book all over again. But yes, I freaking love this town, and I actually just finished reading the arc of Tempt Our Fate, and Tempt Our Fate, which is the 2nd book in the Sun Mountain series, and it covers Pippa, which is Mare's best friend, also Cade's sister, and her love interest Camden, which is a billionaire slash small town romance. So highly recommend that if that is your kind of thing. Say You Swear, which I read this one was it August? I think I read this one in August, and guys, I was an absolute wreck. I think my videos are still on TikTok of me crying reading this book. I literally could not breathe. It was just so much pain, but like it was the like, yes, it hurt, but like I went into the book wanting to like be hurt for some reason, and it delivered. Like, but it's so crazy because like when you're reading the book in the beginning, it's like, okay, this is like a cute little romance. Like, yeah, it kind of sucks, like, you know, it's just your normal like teenage drama, like, oh, she fell for the wrong guy, and then she finally like kind of to turn it around, meet someone new. And y'all, I swear, like there's like 10 chapters back to back where it just gets worse and worse and worse, and you're just like, how much more pain can someone take? Like, even though they're fictional, you're like, I hurt for them, like I feel their pain. Like, y'all, I was like an absolute wreck, and I just kept reading knowing that like it was gonna be worse and worse. And it was like, when you think it got better, it got even worse. And so that's why this got 5 stars, because as much as it hurt, it was so good. And yes, it's a happy ending, but also like there are some things you're just like, well, there's just no happy ending for the way some things happen in this book. But it was so freaking beautiful. I cannot wait to read more of Megan Brandy's work after this one, y'all, because I was a wreck. I was a wreck, but I loved every single minute of it. So I have A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime and I'll Always Be With You by Monica Murphy. And y'all already know I ride for the Lancaster Prep series. I am literally, this series makes me go feral. Is it feral? Feral? How do you pronounce it? Let me know how you pronounce it. But I'll Always Be With You is a ballerina slash like senior popular kid. And the girl, what's her name? Oh, I just said I wasn't gonna try to remember names. Anyways, the main female character, she's the Lancaster in this book, and she ends up having to come home and go to the family school, and the guy she meets is someone she had met previously over like a little summer fling thingy. And yeah, they end up going to the same school, and that's kind of the plot. That's the plot there. You get to see how they navigate that. But then let's talk about the real OG. If you guys know, you know, we have Crew and Rand Lancaster. I will never get tired of talking about these two. I love these two so much. This is actually the new copy that just released, because we got an exclusive bonus content, which included like a Valentine's Day like during their senior year, and I absolutely ate it up. I loved it so much. This one is Good Girl, Bad Boy, and y'all, Monica Murphy knew what she was doing when she wrote that book, but I loved it so freaking much. So I have Marriage for One and Charlie Loving Cliches by Ella Mays. I actually recently just read this one and I loved it so freaking much. Jack and Rose, yes, Titanic, Jack and Rose. It's so funny when I first read it, because she actually like mentions it in like the first line. But literally so cute. It's it's a fake marriage, yeah, but it's like marriage of convenience, and it's literally just like, I love like the way that Jack like is like, y'all, this book, I loved it so freaking much. Like, and I actually ended up ordering this cover off Blackwell's, because they didn't have this cover anywhere in the US. I do not know why, but that was kind of annoying. They had the cover of the guy, which I have that cover, but I was like, this is the one I want to display on my shelf if I want to display it. Y'all, if y'all hear noise outside, they have been doing like work outside my complex for like the longest, and so I'm so sorry if you guys hear that. I think they're on my balcony like repainting or something, so sorry. But yes, so yeah, just this one, y'all, I loved it so much. I freaking loved it so much. I highly recommend you read it. If you love a fake marriage, if you love like they were enemies, I guess you could, they didn't know each other, they were strangers when they got married. So that's what I would say about that one. And then we have Charlie Loving Cliches, and this one is a boss worker romance. I don't know how workplace romance, basically what you would call it though. And so you have Charlie, and I forgot the man's name. I forgot his name, but they like knew each other in the past, had a little thing going on, but it was very like it's like an innocent little connection that they had. And so then the guy shows up, and he is the boss of the company she works at, and yeah, it like goes, you basically get to find out everything that happened from like the time they had stopped talking to each other to up until now, and you kind of get to see where they go from there. But highly recommend it. Loved it so freaking much. Oh my gosh, y'all, they're like right there on my balcony. Yeah, they're repainting, they're right there. But okay, now we have a few books by one author. So I have my little Colleen Hoover stack, guys. She was the author that got me into reading. I know there's so much controversy on her books. This one, y'all, I didn't even read this one. How did this one get up in this stack? I think there was, oh, I see, I grabbed the wrong one. Okay, this was supposed to be Verity, and I don't know how I ended up grabbing this one off my shelf. I haven't even read this one, but we're gonna pretend this is Verity because that's what this was supposed to be. But Verity was the first book I read by Colleen Hoover, and I absolutely loved it. Oh my gosh, I still think about that book to this day. It was just so, I like going into her books, like I didn't know anything about Colleen Hoover, and like when I saw that book, I was very shocked when they said that was like her first like mystery, well, thriller kind of book. And I was kind of upset because I was like, dang, Verity was so good, I want to read more books like that. They were like, well, she's a romance author, so I started digging into her romance books, which I loved also. But y'all, Verity is so good. And if you guys don't know, it's basically about a writer who ends up becoming basically immobile, and so her husband hires what do they call writers who like write for other people? Shadow writers? I don't know if that's what you would call them in the writing world, but basically like a shadow writer. And she ends up moving into their home so she can find out everything she knows about the author and basically pull any notes that she has for an upcoming series she was supposed to write. And so in that, she ends up finding a manuscript that was written by Verity, who is the original author, who became like immobile, and she just found out a lot of secrets about Verity and even her husband. And so yeah, it's a crazy story. I highly recommend you read it. Like literally, even if you were like well into your reading journey like I am, like I still think Verity is still a really good like book to like dive into. Like I know some people think like Colleen Hoover's writing is like very like amateur style, like not amateur style as in like her writing style, but like more so like, you know, it's very surface level when you try to get into writing or to reading. But I love me a good Colleen Hoover for every now and again. Like it's a good palate cleanser, and like I said, I still love Verity until this day. Next we have Ugly Love, which is probably my favorite book by Colleen Hoover. Miles Archer is still one of my favorite book boyfriends to this day. I still listen to the audiobook. It's like my comfort read. And I know some people were like, how is Ugly Love your comfort read? Y'all, the growth, it was the growth, it was the character development for me. That's what got me. But this is a brother's best friend romance. We got some pilot love going. It's a pilot, you got a nurse, all the little feels, and oh my gosh, you just basically have this guy who was like closed off, and they decide to do this, you know, relationship with no strings attached, and we all know how that goes. That never works out well for anyone involved. But highly recommend that. I literally, like I said, one of my favorite books by her. Next I have the, I don't even know, well, I guess you can call it a series because it's a duology by, sorry guys, I had to move some things on my balcony, but what I was saying, okay, yeah, so I have this duology. So it ends with us and it starts with us, and I know y'all, I know some people were like, oh, I didn't need this one. I needed this. This book gave me everything I needed that broke me in this one. But I absolutely love this series. I'm pretty sure you guys already know this one is being made into a movie. I don't know if she's gonna like kind of include components of this to like give it a happy ending, because I mean this one has a happy ending, like not a happy ending, but you know, it like it ends, but I wonder if she's gonna give it the closure that this book gave in the movie. I can't wait to see the movie. I'm super excited. But I mean, I think these are some of the most popular books out there right now, or when I first started reading it, this book was literally everywhere, on Book Talk, Bookstagram. So yes, I did rate these indeed 5 stars. Next, okay, so I have 2 more books by Colleen Hoover. First I have November 9th. Cannot wait to this year of November 9th because I will be rereading this. But I love this one because it's kind of like, I always want to say it's like Groundhog Day, but it's not like Groundhog Day. But it's just like, the thing, what happens is like every November 9th, these 2 people who were originally strangers have one, like on one November 9th, they end up connecting, spending this whole day together. So then after that, for like the next 6 years, they end up meeting up every November 9th. And you kind of just get to see how their relationship kind of goes, like through that change, like, well, their friendship and then where it leads to a relationship. Because they're actually like, they live on different coasts. One lives in LA, one lives in New York. They have no contact throughout the year. They don't follow each other on Instagram, don't have each other's messages, like phone numbers or anything. And so every November 9th, they just have to trust that the other will show up at this restaurant, and then they get to spend the day together. And then they start back over, you know, do the whole thing, not talking for a year, and do the thing over and over. You kind of get to see how each November 9th goes for them over the span of, I think it's 6 years. I think it was 6 years. But lastly, I have Reminders of Him. And y'all, this book left me a sobbing mess. I think this was the first book that probably made me cry. No, I think I cried during Ugly Love. I know this was like, I think this was the first Colleen Hoover book that I was like, it made me sob though. If you guys have not heard of Reminders of Him, I highly recommend you read it. It is still one of my favorite Colleen Hoover books to this day. And this one is basically about a couple, oh gosh, they were together when they were like, when they were teenagers or like very young adults, I guess you can say. And then the mom actually ends up in jail for 5 years, and after she comes home from prison, and her goal is to get her daughter back, and from the father's family, because the father is no longer there. And we kind of get to see how, like, what happened, what put Kenna where she was, and also just like the dynamic of like how she kind of operates around his family now that he's not there, and obviously they're not that fond of her. And yeah, so I freaking love this book. Literally so freaking cute, so sweet, but also heartbreaking. Okay, next I have The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. Nothing how you pronounce it, but this is a perfect little summer read, guys. I had my little Taylor Swift going, and I was just like literally like devouring this book. And I love that it's actually split into like days of the week, so like you get to see what happens like on a Monday or Tuesday. And so what I did starting out, I was actually just like matching the days. So like I started reading like on a Sunday, so I like read like the portion of the Sunday in this book, and then the Monday, and then eventually I think once I got to Wednesday, I was like, you know what, I'm finishing this book. I can't wait, you know, Thursday, Friday to keep. But basically this one is it's a summer book. Obviously you have, what's her name, Meredith. Yes, Meredith and Claire, they're sisters. Claire ended up passing like almost a year and a half, 18 months to be exact, what the back of the book says. But yeah, she ends up passing, and so her family decides to take a break from like their family's summer vacation. But then after the 18 months, they finally decide to come back, and there was actually a big wedding. Basically her entire family, like, they own land, or like the grandparents own land out like by a beach. And so every summer her cousins, aunts, uncles, they all go out and spend time there. And so this particular summer there's actually a wedding for one of the cousins happening, and everyone is there, and this is their first time, like her and her parents' first time going there since they lost her sister. And you actually get to see like she connects with this guy that's on the groom side of the family, that's like basically like that's gonna be in-laws. And you just get to see how this summer happens. And they also play this game of assassin over the summer. And guys, I'm willing to like pitch this idea to my family. I'm like, we need to play assassin. Like, this is something we need to do. We need to go plan a trip just so we can all play assassin and literally experience, because it seems like so much fun. And basically it's a game where like you just have to kind of, you use a water gun and you're like trying to take people out, but you have to like go after your specific target. So you can't just take anyone out. Like, your goal is to go after your specific target and get them, and then once you get them, they give you who their target was. So yes, I freaking loved it. It was just like all fun games. Like, it was just so much laughter, and you just get to see how she gets to heal from like obviously like losing her sister and all of that. So I absolutely love that book. And then I have The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. Y'all, I talked about Ali Hazelwood so much on my book, on my channel, so you guys already know how much I love her. I love the STEM romance. I actually have another copy that I loaned out to a friend right now, so this is like my other copy that I have. So as you guys see, I have 2 copies. That's how much I love the book. But yes, if you guys have not heard, this is a STEM romance. Ali Hazelwood focuses on STEM romances. And so this one you have Adam Carlson and Olive, I forgot her last name, Olive Smith. But Olive Smith is a student, Adam is one of the professors, and he is not a favorite professor by any means. And Olive ends up having to fake date him to convince her best friend that she is over a guy that her best friend wants to date, which that's a whole nother ordeal right there, because I'm sorry, what? But we're just gonna, we're gonna move past that. But yeah, she ends up dating Adam Carlson to like convince her best friend that she is over this guy that she barely even dated, that her best friend now wants to date. And yeah, so it's like, it's a fake dating trope, fake dating romance. And Adam Carlson is literally like just this little grumpy little professor who, he's not even like a grumpy professor, he's just like a very harsh professor. Like, he is like, you know, you got those teachers who just like take their job way too seriously. That was Adam Carlson, but like for a good reason. Like these are like, they are like like these people are like working on their PhD, so obviously you want the best of the best. And you know, so I get it, but obviously like the students don't like it. Like if I sit here and like pitch you 5 dissertations ideas and you're gonna deny every single one of them, of course I'm not gonna like you. But that's like, that's a whole nother conversation. But yes, absolutely love that one. And then I have The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. And guys, her new book just released and I got it delivered a few days ago and I cannot wait to read it. But this is one of my favorite fake dating romances also. This one is Erin Blackford and what's her, Catalina. But Catalina is her sister's getting married, and she had recently entered a relationship where she actually ended up moving from her hometown all the way to New York to kind of get away from that relationship. And so now she has to go back home to her sister's wedding, and her ex-boyfriend is going to be there because her ex-boyfriend is the brother of the groom. And her family is like, do you have a boyfriend? Like they're all just like, you know, they want to make sure she's okay, they want to make sure she has someone, so it's just not awkward being with her boyfriend, being with her ex-boyfriend. Because apparently this was like a really big breakup that they had. Like it was very public, because he was her teacher. Long story, but not really long story. So yes, Erin Blackford is actually one of her co-workers at her job in New York, and she thinks that he hates her. I mean, it's so backwards the way she thinks that he hates her, but in her mind they pretty much hate each other. In his mind he's like, I've never hated you, like I just always thought you were attractive and didn't know how to talk to you. But yes, so he ends up agreeing to be her fake date. So they go to, I think it's Barcelona. I want to say it's Barcelona. It's, yeah, it's in Spain. I don't know why I want to feel like it's Barcelona, but that's where I feel like it is. But yes, so he ends up going to Barcelona with her for the wedding, and you just get to see how that happens. We all know fake dating turns into real dating. Like we already know that's how that always happens. So I mean, do we already know? Yes. But are we going to eat it up every single time? Yes. One of my favorite 5-star reads, y'all. Oh y'all, this series is literally gonna be my, like, this series is gonna take me out. I'm convinced of it. But Magnolia Parks, y'all, I actually just ordered my second set of like the original cover. So I have original covers from like the US, but then I just ordered them from the UK, and now I'm also collecting these new releases. And guys, I am obsessed with this series, y'all. I truly did not understand why so many people were obsessed with this series. Like, it sounded interesting, but the way people were talking about it, I'm like, what the heck is in this book? And y'all, I finally read it, and I am trying my best. I am trying my hardest to not sit here and devour this series right here and right now. Like, I could literally just abandon my entire TBR and just finish this series. I've read the first 2 books. Daisy Hates was also a 5-star, but I read it this month actually, so that's why it's on this video. But Jessa Hastings, she put crack in this, y'all. Like literally London Socialites meets Gossip Girl. Literally, it's just I love it. It's toxicity, but it is so good. I have the first 2 books in the Twisted series, guys. I just realized we talked about all my favorite A's. So we have Adam Carlson, Aaron Blackford, and Alex Volkov. I don't know how you pronounce it, but y'all, this man here, I freaking love him. He is the literal definition of touch her and you die, or I burn the world for her. Like, this is also a best friend's brother romance. It's a billionaire college student, guys. It's just literally all the things. I freaking ate this book up. As you can see, I annotated. I cannot wait to do a reread of this book. I just love the Twisted Men. Like, yes, I've only read the first 2, but I am reading Twisted Hate hopefully this month, and then I'll be reading Twisted Lies last. But so far this series, I love this series so much. And so then of course we have Twisted Games next, and this was my first like bodyguard princess romance, and absolutely ate it up. Oh my gosh, Bridget, I love her. And then what's the guy, Reese. Y'all, as you can see, I absolutely love this series so much. But yes, y'all, read the series. Read this series. So worth it. Anna, I don't know what you put in these books, but I cannot. I really hate that it's ending. Like, I hate that there's like no continuation to the series. I'm like, can we get their kids? Like, let's get something. Let's get something of these 4 again. Okay, but after that, now I have If He Had Been With Me. Y'all, this still hurts. This book still hurts. I read this in like November of last year, November or October of last year. And y'all, when I say a wreck, a absolute wreck. I still listen to the playlist and like my heart just shatters. Like, I just don't understand how much pain can be in a book. But the thing, and like, you know about a pain, like you know about it, and then you still get hurt by it though. Like, that's like what happens in this book, y'all. And it's a young adult book, and I did not think a YA book could like hurt like that. But Autumn and Finney, they have grown up together. Their mothers are best friends, so they literally have done everything together. The same age, and as they end up like going through the years, they start to disconnect. They start to hang out with different kinds of groups of people, and eventually, like their senior year of high school, they finally kind of start to reconnect, and a tragic event happens with Finney and his, like, at the time now ex-girlfriend, and it just rips my heart into shreds. And Finney's point of view was supposed to come out this November, but the author actually released a statement saying like this book really takes like a lot out of her. Like, she really has to, like, you know, go into a deep place to write it. So it has been pushed to, I think, February of 2024. And knowing that she said that, now I'm even more scared, because I'm like, it already hurt so much when I read Autumn's point of view. So now I gotta read Finney's point of view, and like, because I'm gonna read it. Like, I don't care how bad it hurts, I'm gonna read it. But like, now I gotta wait. I gotta wait for the hurt. Like, come on now, come on now. But I really have high hopes. I really do think it's gonna be such a good book. I don't know where my camera just stopped at, but it just stopped. So I think I was finishing up If He Had Been With Me. I think, I hope. So okay, next book is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. Guys, Archer deserves the world. Can only speak sign language, so he's deaf, and Bree actually speaks sign language because her dad also was deaf, and everyone in the town just like treats Archer like he's just some, like, they just don't treat him good. And Bree comes into town trying to escape basically from just a tragic event that she had just went through, and her and Archer become friends, and it's literally so beautiful. One of my favorite wholesome books in the world, and I just love this book with everything in me, so highly recommend that one. Next I have Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. Y'all, this book had me in tears. I still love it to this day. Oh, I love this book so freaking much. But if you guys have not heard, this is a basketball romance, and oh gosh, August and Iris, I love them. Iris actually is well, they met when they were in college, and August is actually like on the rivals team of Iris's boyfriend, and you basically get to see how like their lives change, like from like August from college to the NBA, and also her boyfriend at the time, I forgot what her boyfriend's name is because he ain't important, but he crazy, y'all. He's crazy, and he really tries to manipulate Iris, and he sees that August likes her, and he sees the connection that Iris and August has, and y'all, jealousy rears its ugly head in this book, and I absolutely ate it up. I ate it up. I cannot wait to read Hook Shot and Block Shot, I think is what they're called. Hopefully we get some cameos of August and Iris, because I would love to see more of them. You already know me and this book go bad. We go bad together, y'all. Y'all already know how much I love this book. Darling Venom by Parker S. Huntington. Still one of my favorite books to this day. Oh my gosh, I read it in January, and y'all, I still have not recovered from this book. I absolutely loved it so freaking much. If you guys have not heard of this book, please go read it, but look up the trigger warnings before you read it. It's actually about two teens who are really facing like mental health struggles, and one of them ends up doing something drastic, and the other one is kind of left to kind of cope with it. And so years later, she actually ends up becoming a patient of the guy's brother, because he's an OBGYN gynecologist, and yeah, and she knows who he is, but he doesn't know who she is. So y'all, literally, it's so good, but I loved it. I highly recommend it. Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. Y'all, all these, I'm just getting the feels because these are some of my favorite books ever. Oh my gosh, I freaking love this one. I know it's kind of weird, like it's kind of, you know, her ex-boyfriend's father. Like, yes, I get it, it's weird, but y'all, it's so good. It's just like, oh my gosh, I just love these two. What's his name? Pike and Jordan, that's their names. Pike and Jordan, y'all. And it's like, even when like certain parts of the book, I'm like, I have to remember the age difference, so it's like my vision when I'm like reading certain parts, I'm like, this doesn't look how I would normally think it looks, but y'all, it still just like warms my heart. I'm like, this is literally so freaking cute. They were so cute. Okay, next I have two books, a part of the Never After series by Emily McIntyre. So I have Hooked and Scarred. Absolute, oh my gosh, y'all, they are like, I hope it's not too loud. I'm gonna regret when I have to watch this video back and hear all that background noise. Okay, but I have Hooked and Scarred, and so if you guys don't know, these are like Disney reimaginings, not retellings, reimaginings, and they're dark reimaginings. So Hooked is Peter Pan and Scarred is a Lion King. But what I love about these series is they focus on the villains. So Hooked obviously focused on Captain Hook, and I love the twist. It was so unexpected, and just also seeing the book from the villain's perspective, because I've read a Peter Pan retelling and just like a dark retelling, but from Peter Pan's, you know, point of view. So seeing it from Captain Hook's point of view, and just seeing how Emily just like completely like twisted the story, and by the end of this you actually fall in love with Captain Hook. It's insane. It is insane. And also for Scarred, y'all already know Scar from Lion King. If you don't, I'm so sorry you didn't have a childhood. You need to go sit and watch The Lion King right now. Not the one that just came out a few years ago. Y'all need to watch the original OG Lion King. Go watch that Lion King if you have not. But this one focuses on Scar, and it's so crazy to think that Mufasa like the way this, like, it's just crazy to see like how we grew up thinking Scar was like so like, and obviously these are reimagining, so it's not true, but we grew up seeing Scar as such the bad guy, and then to see Scar in this light, which he's still not a good guy, like he's still the bad guy, but to like see it and see like how even like Emily like kind of twists the good characters is like phenomenal. And by the end of this book, you're just like, I want Scar. So I highly recommend that series. She has 3 other books that came out in that series, so I cannot wait to read them. But these I love so freaking much. And then next, y'all already know me and Rena Kent. Y'all already know my obsession with her books. Every one of her books eat. Every one of her books eat, and can nobody tell me otherwise. But the first book I ever read by her was God of Wrath, which this is actually book 3 in the Legacy of Gods. Don't ask me how I ended up reading book 3 before I like read book 1. I honestly don't know, but I absolutely loved it. And yes, I will be going back and reading the other books in this series, but I'm still very hooked on Jeremy right now, and you know, I'm loving it. I think this was actually like my first like true like dark romance, if I'm being honest. I think it was my first true dark romance, because I read at the beginning of the year. I don't think last year I read any dark romances. I'm trying to think. Well, would you consider Credence a dark romance? I don't know, but yes, y'all, I love these two. It's basically like, it's enemies to lovers. They're college students, and Jeremy is a part of a mafia, or his parents are part of mafia. So like in college, they like they have like their own little small mafias in college, I guess you can call it. And Cecily, I think is how you say her name, or Cicely, however you want to say it, but she actually ends up spying on Jeremy and like his crew for one of their enemies. And you just get to see how that happens, and how Cicely and Jeremy end up more than enemies. Like, y'all, they messed up in the head, but it was so good. It was so good. Next, I have 2 books from the Monster trilogy. So this is book 2 and book 3. The first book is Blood of My Monster, which I really did like that one, but it did not have as much like high stakes as these two. So these two had my blood pumping, y'all. I was nervous. I was like, I need to know what happens next. This is more, it's first book is more military romance, and the second and third book switches more into mafia, and it's all the same characters, so it is indeed more mafia. And y'all, they're right out there painting so they can see me, and it's weird. But yes, book 2 is Lies of My Monster, book 3 is Heart of My Monster. And y'all, when I say enemies to lovers, this is true enemies to lovers, y'all. Half of these books, they really are truly trying to kill each other, and it ain't like no just like small like, oh, I want to kill you because you did something petty. No, it's like you deserve to die, kind of like enemies to lovers. And so I think that's honestly probably one of the best enemies to lovers I've ever read. And even once they get to like the lovers part, they still end up getting back to enemies. Y'all, it's literally just mind-boggling how Rena Kent did this series, and I love it so freaking much. Next, I have another dark romance by Natasha Knight. This is the second book in the Augustine Brothers world, and so this is Deliver Me from Evil. The first one is Forgive Me My Sins, and this one is an arranged marriage. So Madalena is arranged to marry, what is his name, Santos. I think that's his name, Santos. But she is arranged to marry Santos. Like, she is promised to marry him when she's like little. She is like grade school little when she is promised to marry him. And so all throughout her years of growing up, Santos actually has kept an eye on her all these years. And once she is finally of age and they get married, obviously she is like, I am being forced into this. And you know, it's not fun. It's not fun when you're the child of parents in that world and your parents force you to marry someone you don't even know. Also, when it's someone that you have known to be an enemy all your life. But you know, Santos and Madalena go bad together. They go bad together, and I loved it. I have Vicious by V.E. Schwab, and I love her writing. The first book I read by her was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, or LaRae, however you want to pronounce it. But I absolutely loved her writing, and this one, I did not know what to expect. I think she's one of the only authors that I can write where like the romance is not the main trope, and it's still just as good as like if I was going to read a romance book. So this one, they actually focus on people who have like special powers, and they're called EOs, I think is what they're called. But basically they're people who face near-life death experiences. So if they survive, they actually end up coming back with like a special power. And so two college students decide to basically research this, and they actually test out the theory, and then you get to see how they become enemies years later and how eventually they try to kill each other. But it's so good. Like, I loved it. I loved it so much. 5 stars for sure. And like I said, I have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Y'all, I actually just got this new cover from Blackwell's, and I freaking love this cover. Look at this. This is so freaking cute. I love the white. I have the blue and the black cover, but y'all, I actually really love this, and this makes me really want to reread it. But if you've not heard about this book, it's pretty popular now. Like, when I first read it, it wasn't as popular, but now I feel like I see it everywhere. But basically, Addie LaRue, she makes a deal with the god of the dark, I think that's what they call it, to basically be like, to not have to be owned by a man, just because in this time, like, who you were married to were basically like who you were, and it just wasn't a time where women really had their own like free will. So she decides to make a deal, and whenever you make a deal, you always end up losing something. Like, it's never just always for your benefit. And so the deal that she ends up striking ends up making her forgettable to everyone. So even if she meets them, if she walks out of a room and then comes back, they won't know who she is. It's like she never existed. And so you get to see how she like lives through centuries, decades, however you want to put it, but all these years of like being like forgettable, I guess you can say. And so she finally meets a guy who actually does remember her, and you get to see how that works. And we also get to see, you get to learn why the guy ends up actually like being able to remember her. So yes, it's a little long, I will say that. It did take me a minute to get into it, but once I got into it, I was utterly obsessed, and I was not ready for it to end when it ended. And next I have, y'all, these are a lot of books. Next I have The Shadow Between Us by Tricia Levenseller, that's how you pronounce it. But y'all, this is one of the quickest little fantasy reads I've ever read, and I loved it so much. It was just one of those books where like you can, if you like are in the mood for a fantasy but you don't want to go into a series, this is perfect. It's not a lot of world building. It's just like super quick, a super quick, easy read. And so this one is about the Shadow King, and basically they go through this thing where parents try to offer their daughter up to the Shadow King and to see if like they can marry him. And yeah, that's basically what happens. It's this, but I'm trying to think what else can I'm trying to think of how to like tell more without ruining it. But basically the Shadow King has other ulterior motives, and the girl that actually, the main female character who actually ends up in the castle, or in the castle that's supposed to court the Shadow King, is she has her own motives too. And so you kind of get to see them trade, or see how they learn each other, if that's the best way to put it. I hope I said that right. It was a good book though, and it's still 5 stars for me. I don't think anyone is surprised when I put the series out here. Like, let's be real here, but y'all already know when y'all see these colors, when y'all already know how I feel about Miss Moss. Y'all already know I want all of her books tattooed on my skin. I just want to live in the world that she writes. I'm currently reading House of Earth and Blood, and y'all, I'm stressed. I'm literally stressed already about it. So I cannot wait to read more of it tonight, and I'm kind of scared because I just like all her books leave me with the biggest book hangover, because like I just want to be in the world so much and I can't. But if you guys have not heard of ACOTAR, this is, oh my gosh, one of the best fantasy series ever written, and it's so good for starter readers like who want to start to fantasy. This was the first fantasy series I ever read. I have only read the first 3 books. I am trying to hold out on the last 2 because I'm trying to avoid the book hangover I know I will face, because we do not know when the 6th book is going to come out yet. But this book it's very easy to understand because there's not a lot, like there is world building, but it's very similar to the human worlds almost. So and it's actually about a human turned fae, so you actually get to learn with her how the fae world works. So I think that's what I like most about it for like new fantasy readers. Like, yes, you go through the world building and stuff, but you go through it with the character versus like hopping straight into it and then all the characters are like, you know, in this world and they know how everything works. You get to see how she gets to learn how everything works. Okay, y'all, we are almost there. Next I have the first 3 books in the Dark Verse series. I have The Predator, The Reaper, and The Emperor. And y'all, I love this series so much. So you have the first 2 books that cover Dante and Morana, and then you have Tristan and Morana, and then you have the 3rd book that covers Dante and Amara. And Dante and Tristan are like almost kind of like brothers. And so this one is enemies to lovers forced. This is forbidden romance, enemies to lovers romance. So good, and it is true enemies to lovers. Like, it starts off with them trying to kill each other, so it's not like, you know, she has a real reason to like hate him. And then you have this one where they are childhood friends. Yeah, you can say childhood friends to lovers, also forbidden romance. And he is like the mafia, like he is the heir for the mob that his dad runs. And so yes, there is a lot of tea in these books. Definitely look up the trigger warnings, especially for the Emperor. The Emperor definitely took me by surprise, so if you have triggers, I highly recommend that you look into that. If you don't, you can go into it blind like I did, and like I absolutely enjoyed it. But you do, like, if you do have triggers, you do need to take that into account. So next I have Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Finn. This is my only, oh, I had Verity. Verity is my only other thriller that was in here. I feel like I give a lot of thrillers 4 stars and not 5 stars. So the fact that I only had 2 5-star thrillers is insane. Okay, but I have Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney. And I have talked about this book so much. Like, you got Alice, the way she does twists is just impeccable. Like, it's nothing makes sense until like the end of the book, but when you look back, you're like, dang, it did all make sense, but you just didn't see it. Like, you just did, there was no way for you to see it. And so I love that. I love like when I get to the end of the book and I'm like, dang, like I don't feel stupid, but I feel stupid because I'm like, I couldn't have guessed that, but like all the clues were there for me to guess it. I just couldn't have guessed it, you know? Like, it's that kind of book. And so I absolutely loved it. It's about a marriage, a marriage who is kind of like, their marriage is kind of in trouble, and so they end up trying to take a vacation to center their focus on each other and to try to, you know, get back to a healthy marriage. And they end up going to this cabin retreat, and things get weird. Things get weird. And so we find out a lot about the cabin, and we find out a lot about each character and how they ended up getting married and things like that. So highly recommend that one. And then next I have The Serpent and Wings of the Night by Carissa Broadbent. Guys, I love this world, The Crowns of Noxia. For so far 2 books have come out and a novella has come out, which I love. So this is the Nightborn duet. So there's supposed to be 6 books, and 2 books is going to cover, or 8 books, 6 books or 8 books, and 2 books are going to cover each like little world in like the Noxia world, I guess. So this one is the Nightborn duet, and I love this one because this is a high stakes fantasy, but it's also like there's not a lot of world building. It gets right into the story. It's kind of like a Hunger Games situation. They are going through this thing called the Kajari, I think is what it is. And the Kajari is basically where vampires they end up basically going through like this Hunger Games kind of thing to basically get a wish from Noxia, the queen herself. And so Oriah is actually a human, but she's been like adopted by a vampire. So her vampire father decides to enroll her into the Kajari, and the goal is for her to win so then she can actually be bounded to her dad. So that way when her dad leaves or when her dad dies, she will be the one to inherit his kingdom. Because as of right now, she cannot, because she is not his true heir. Okay. 2 more books, guys. So first I have Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Y'all, this is another fantasy, and this is like a I would consider like almost like a cozy fantasy, but it's also not a cozy fantasy because there are things at stake, especially towards the end. It really does turn into a high stakes fantasy, but I feel like it's more of a YA fantasy for sure. But there's something that was just cozy about it when I was reading it. It's very cozy, you know. It makes you want to like get under a warm blanket, light a candle, and you're not like really sweating until like the last page where you really sweating, like you really do be sweating by the last page. So I cannot wait into Ruthless Vows. Yeah, Ruthless Vows. It comes out this year, I think in November, and I am so ready because it did end on a cliffhanger, and guys, I need to know what happened. But if you guys don't know about this book, basically there's 2 writers and they work for the same company and they are up for the same position. One person gets it, obviously the other person doesn't, and she ends up deciding to go be like a war writer, I think is what they are called. And her brother is actually in the war, so she actually has like another motive to try to find her brother. And she has this typewriter that when she writes in, when she writes in, like put the letter in her closet, the letter disappears, but she doesn't know who the letter goes to. Turns out the letter goes to the guy that she is actually was for the same position for. He knows it's her, she doesn't know it's him. And yeah, that's like the book in a mouthful without giving you any spoilers. That's like the best I could give you without giving you any spoilers. Highly recommend it though. Like I said, it is very interesting, and y'all, I'm so sorry, that was like they're like letting the ladder down. Okay, to the last book. If you guys have not figured it out, you guys are like, she's not covered this book yet, but I'm not understanding. Guys, I'm wearing the merch for the book. Fourth Wing. I know, y'all, I know who did not give this book 4 stars. I mean, who did not give this book 5 stars? Because infinity stars. Guys, this is definitely your high stakes fantasy. It gets right into it, you know. It's stressing you out after the first chapter. It's dragons. This is the only dragon fantasy I've read. I cannot wait for Iron Flame to come out. Yes, I have pre-ordered it, y'all. I cannot wait to read that book. But yes, this is probably one of my favorite besides Magnolia Parks. Magnolia Parks and Fourth Wing are both up there for me. But yes, I don't even know what to say. I feel like if you have not heard anything about Fourth Wing at this point, like, where are you, girl? Like, let's sit and talk. But it's basically about a girl. It's this school, and these people enroll in it so they can become riders, basically dragon riders for war. And you get to see how the main character, Violet, how she goes through this world and how she ends up bonding with the dragon, and the whole story, and then her love interest. It's all, y'all, it is literally, if I start talking about it, we'll be sitting here for another 10 minutes, and this video is already long enough. But if y'all don't take nothing else from this video, read Fourth Wing and Magnolia Parks. Those are definitely probably my 2 top 5-star reads. But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know these were a lot of books and a lot of opinions on these books, but if you guys liked it, make sure you give this a thumbs up, and let me know if you guys want to see me tier ranking these to see where they kind of stand on like my 5-meter rating now that I have read so many of them. But yes, I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.